We moved the clock forward, the closest it has ever been to midnight. It is now 90 seconds to midnight.
In 2023, the Doomsday Clock was set to 90 seconds to midnight, the closest it has ever been. The Doomsday Clock is a symbol to show how close we are to all-out nuclear war, with midnight being apocalypse. The Doomsday Clock is run by the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists, which was founded by the likes of J. Robert Oppenheimer and Albert Einstein in 1947. Nuclear war is currently the most dangerous threat for the entire world. Is this the future we want, where we live in constant fear? The United States has always been a powerhouse involved with nuclear weapons, relating nuclear war directly to us and putting innocent lives in jeopardy. It's time for our leaders to step up and help the rest of the world find peace. The Manhattan Project began in 1942 and ended in 1945. The goal was to harness nuclear energy, and in a way, it was a major success. It produced the first atomic bombs. Scientists from a range of countries, including J. Robert Oppenheimer and Albert Einstein, worked with the military to test their idea of an uncontrolled nuclear fission reaction.
But what is nuclear fission?
Basically, what we do is we overload the nucleus of an atom, and then it creates a chain reaction, like a domino effect. It causes that nucleus to split, releasing more neutrons. And as they split, they release more neutrons, but also more energy every single time that nucleus is split, which when you have a solid sample, I mean, you're talking trillions upon trillions upon trillions of nuclei that get split.
The first test bomb site was called Trinity, which was so powerful and absurd at the time, it seems almost unreal how much stronger our bombs have become since.
The fission bomb used in Hiroshima had a force of 15 kilotons. Just 15 kilotons released intense radiation, a forceful shockwave, and immense heat. Those that survived would have poor health from the radiation poisoning. The convection currents brought the debris into the air and then outward, creating a mushroom cloud that was 40,000 feet, much taller than Mount Everest. Oppenheimer also had the infamous quote, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." However, although these nuclear fission bombs could generate immense levels of energy, they aren't even close to the destruction present-day bombs can cause, which utilize a different nuclear process.
Present-day bombs are almost exclusively hydrogen bombs. These bombs, also known as thermonuclear bombs, rely on a different reaction called nuclear fusion and can have the potential to be 500 to 1,000 times more powerful than fission bombs, such as the ones produced in the Manhattan Project.
What is nuclear fusion and why is it so much more powerful than fission?
Nuclear fusion is typically is pretty much the opposite. So it's where you have the nucleus of an atom and things get fused in to create that nucleus, to make basically a heavier nucleus. And as that happens, it creates more energy than nuclear fission does.
An example of a fusion bomb is the Tsar Bomba, the most powerful explosive ever created by humans. The bomb was 50 megatons, about 3,000 times stronger than the bomb dropped on Nagasaki, but could have been even more powerful if the Soviets didn't worry about the fallout that came afterwards. Ever since the Doomsday Clock was created in 1947 by the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists, it hasn't gone long without changes to its time. There were several close calls throughout the 1960s through the 1990s that made it seem the tension would break at any moment. But with all of this happening, treaties were being signed and progress was being made. Though the process was messy, the clock managed to reach 17 minutes to midnight in 1991, the farthest it has ever been. Ever since 1991, the clock has only ticked closer to midnight, with the rise of more countries possessing nuclear devices and foreign wars. By 2018, the clock reached 2 minutes, then 100 seconds by 2020, and finally 90 seconds in 2023, mainly caused by a foreign war started by Russia, a dominant country with nuclear weapons who invaded Ukraine. If it weren't for backlash from NATO, Russia may have already used nuclear weapons.
We should take this threat seriously. This is part of Russian strategy and doctrine. The idea that they would use nuclear weapons maybe even early in a conflict to avoid losing a conventional war to a rival.
There are currently 9 countries in possession of active nuclear weapons, but the greatest threats to the world are Russia and the US. Although it's hard to tell, Russia has almost 6,000 nuclear warheads, and the United States has around 5,200 nuclear warheads.
Russia might use nuclear weapons to achieve its goals in the war in Ukraine. The United States should issue public, deliberatively vague threats of serious consequences for any Russian use of nuclear weapons.
A treaty signed in 1973 made the use and creation of nuclear weapons, and I quote, objective of their policies. Countries gained trust and slowed the quiet race for nuclear weapons. Since the height of the Cold War, nuclear weapon stockpiles have decreased by 82%, which is 57,500 weapons, and is still going down.
But why is it so hard to abolish nuclear weapons?
if I have 10,000, I get rid of 1,000, whatever. I still have 9,000. But like once you were to get down to like dozens or something, you would really have to trust the other people.
Dear Mr. President, our request for you is to always be on the same page with the other nuclear powers in the world and to create trust with these nations. Trust will hopefully help us fully abolish nuclear weapons.
So the best way we've seen to prevent nuclear war in where we're at, almost 80 years that we've had nuclear weapons, is communication. So my hope would be that we can find ways to get that diplomacy cycle kind of moving again, and that would help us eventually get towards abolition again.
Although we have certainly done a great job at preventing nuclear war in the past, the world is now the closest it has ever been to nuclear war. We can never let World War III, which will almost certainly be used with nuclear devices, happen.
As Albert Einstein, the scientist that first sent the letter to the Manhattan Project, once warned, I know not with what weapons World War III will be fought, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones.